going to be a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to skip executive committee meeting. We're going to go into full board meeting. But what we have to do is I would like a motion to go back into executive. Jonathan?
Second.
Second, Jean. And so now I would like a motion to adjourn executive.
No, we need to do vacancy reports.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, I want to do them in executive.
Okay. So we're just going to do vacancies in this. So roll call.
Mr. Samuelson.
Here.
Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mrs. Labuda.
Here.
Ms. Vedder. Ms. Vedder.
Here.
Mr. Ruiz.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger. Mrs. Geiger.
I'm here.
Mrs. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Okay, now we're going to do vacancy requests.
Cheer up,
There
Dan. Cheer up.
are-
Again, this is going to be a little confusing, unfortunately. Well, it's not unfortunate. The governor was here at Bethel Woods, so we had to go over and say hello to him. It is a good day in Sullivan County.
For two reasons, just so you know. I did notice.
So we're gonna just do a piece of executive, then we're gonna go into full board to save time.
No, we're going to go into do public hearings first.
And public hearings, we have 2 public hearings. Okay, so the first vacancy that we're going to address is the sheriff's office. It's for the jail kitchen.
Yes, move. Yes.
Kathy, well, there's no moving.
We have to have a couple.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look at the vacancy for the jail
Yeah.
kitchen? Do we have any discussion on it? All in favor? Any opposed to it? Okay.
Nine zip.
Great. Division of Public Works, position, a master mechanic in DPW, vacated on April 5th of 2014. Is there anything that anybody needs to hear on this, or has anybody have any questions from Ed McAndrew? Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
9 zip.
Okay, thank you. Next vacancy is Department of Public Works at McAndrew, a bridge carpenter. And it was vacated November 5th, 2014. Does anybody have any questions of Ed? All in favor?
Any question?
9 zip.
Okay, all opposed? Okay. Any opposed?
9 zip.
Division of Public Works, garage superintendent, vacated on September 18th, 2014. Any questions of Ed? All in favor? Any opposed?
9 zip.
Division of Public Works, building engineer, vacated, don't know. Any questions for Ed on the building engineer?
Well, I assume somebody knows.
Ed?
When was that vacated in? Oh, that's a while ago.
Oh, that's a long,
Yeah, all
okay.
right, let's do it.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
9 zip.
Division of Public Works, big day for Public Works. Vacated 4/25/12, sign shop supervisor. Any questions from the board? Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
9 zip.
Okay, this is coming from the treasurer, Nancy Buck. It is for deputy treasurer. Okay. We know when that was vacated. So any questions of Nancy on the deputy treasurer? All in favor? Opposed?
9 zip.
Okay, thank you.
You made a good choice, by the way.
Who is it, Nancy?
Nancy, have you?
Kathleen Brawley.
I'm sorry, say again?
Kathleen Brawley.
Okay, great.
Gonna start the 29th.
Great, thank you. Department of Community Services and Joe Todoro, department, vacated 10/7/2014. Staff social worker, anybody have any questions on that position? All in favor? Any opposed?
9 zip.
No, that's it.
No.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like the motion to adjourn executive. Jonathan, second Cora. All in favor? Okay. At this point, we're going to do our 2 public hearings.
Yep, stand by.
Stand by. She actually has her hand up my back. I'll move my lips, but just pay attention to Annie.
That's what I said, someone would ask me. And careful what you say.
Okay, we're gonna be doing the local law number 4, the 140 public hearing.
Okay, has everybody signed up, is anybody interested in signing up for any of the public hearings, because the papers are up front here? So I'd like to call the public hearing to order. Let's do a salute to the flag. Would everybody please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Sanderson.
Here.
Mrs. Labuda.
Here.
Ms. Better.
Here.
Mr. Ruiz.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Okay. Reading of the public notice.
Notice is hereby given that there's been duly presented and introduced at a meeting of the Legislature of the County of Sullivan, New York, held on November 20th, 2014, a proposed local law entitled Authorizing the County of Sullivan, notwithstanding Section 215 of the county law, to enter into a lease of county-owned real property for a specific project for a term of up to 30 years. Notice is further given that the Legislature of the County of Sullivan will conduct a public hearing on the proposed local law at the Legislative Meeting Room, County Government Center, Monticello, New York, on December 18, 2014 at 1:40 p.m., at which time all persons interested will be heard.
Okay. Is there anybody who has any comment on this local law? We have a motion to adjourn. Jonathan, second. Jean? Okay.
Public hearing is now closed.
Public hearing is now closed.
Thank you. Next one. Oh, I love these kind of meeting notices. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call the public hearing to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanderson.
Here.
Mrs. Labuda.
Here.
Ms. Better. Mr. Ruiz.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. Benson.
Here.
Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Is there anybody who would like to make a public comment on this issue? Motion to adjourn?
I have to read the.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't even know what it was.
County of Sullivan Division of Planning Environmental Management, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Sullivan County Legislature on Thursday, December 18, 2014, at 1:50 p.m. in the Legislative Hearing Room of the Sullivan County Government Center, Monticello, New York, to accept comments from the public on the update to the county agricultural and farmland protection plan.
Do you have comments, sir? Yes. Please step up to the microphone.
Please state your name for the record.
Well, my name is Tom Kapner. I'm a retired college professor who's resided in the town of Delaware for more than 35 years, and I'm on the Agriculture Advisory Board. I'm here to urge you to give your full support to the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan, and more importantly, to make sure that it has some teeth in it, and I'll get into that in a moment. In the discussions around drafting the county's strategic economic development plan, we all felt that the story of economic development in Sullivan County is one of not realizing our immense potential. We do have some real advantages. I used to do some consulting work for the United Nations Development Program, evaluating development projects in Latin America. The one salient factor that jumped out was that the economies that have a diversified economic base always did better. In formulating the strategic economic development plan for the county, we saw promoting activities strengthening symbiotic connections between our three-pronged economic foundation as the key to moving forward in a systemic and sustainable way. That is, we need to promote and strengthen agriculture, tourism, and healthcare, and the connections between them. I'd like to briefly address the critical role of agriculture that it plays in this endeavor. Agriculture in Sullivan County has been uniquely connected to tourism going back 100 years when the farms were boarding houses over the summer months, which led to the resort industry for which the Borscht Belt was famous. And we all know about the huge and growing wellness movement and the ever-increasing demand for healthy, nutritious foods. The Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan has a priority initiative for enhancing agritourism that aims to further build on the expanding number of farms that attract visitors. It also has another priority initiative to promote the ever stronger impetus to buy locally grown, healthy, nutritious foods. Our agricultural sector is a driving force for our economy, as well as being itself diversified and possessing all the elements for a slow but steady development that is consistent with the type of healthy and sustainable development that will make for a much stronger economy. Data from the 2012 agricultural census illustrates its vitality. Agricultural industries, including agricultural production, support services, and manufacturing, contributed $714 million in output and nearly 1,500 jobs to the Sullivan County economy. Just about everything is connected to agriculture in one way or another. Agriculture has a much higher multiplier effect. Every dollar generated goes further and stays locally. Additionally, our agricultural sector is well diversified. Dairy farming may be declining, but fruits and vegetables, beef cattle, hogs, sheep, goats, alpacas, horses, cheese and maple production are all growing slowly but steadily. And though a majority of these enterprises earn less than $10,000 a year in gross sales, their growing numbers and cumulative impact is considerable, and they are more resilient and less vulnerable to market fluctuations, all of which is consistent with a healthy and sustainable type of development that will make us stronger in the long run. The Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan before you is a very solid, substantive, and well thought out document providing a wealth of material detailing the makeup and nature of our agricultural sector and, more importantly, indicating what is needed to move forward to realize its full potential in contributing to our economic growth. Unlike most well thought out plans, and I've seen plenty of them at the United Nations, that remain statements of lofty goals collecting dust, this one has mechanisms built into it to push it forward to realization. On the one hand, it calls for an advisory task force to see to its implementation. This task force should consist of representatives of organizations that support agriculture, like the Agricultural Advisory Board, Cornell Cooperative Extension, and the Farm Network, and representatives of organizations with the resources and wherewithal to make things happen, like County Planning Division, IDA, and Partnership. On the other hand, this plan has as one of its priority initiatives the creation of an agriculture business retention and expansion program. A central aspect for the success of this program and for the other initiatives in the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan is creating the position of coordinator able to draw on a staff to carry out their duties. This individual will visit farmers and work with them to provide assistance and referral of resources in such areas as business planning, marketing, value-added processing, and diversification. The coordinator is also tasked to see that the other priority initiatives are carried out and will act as a spokesperson or advocate for agriculture in Sullivan County. To make sure that the coordinator carries out his or her tasks in a way that ensures the ultimate success of the overall plan, the position must be adequately funded. I do understand budgetary constraints, but quite honestly, I cannot think of an investment that would produce such high dividends for our future and would be more worthy of your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Well,
We're glad to get the UNDP stamp for approval.
You can give your comments to the clerk. Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody else who has
Thank
a
you.
public comment? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Jonathan, second, Jean. Okay.
The public hearing is now closed at 2:39. Yes?
Could I get a packet?
You have one, don't you? Alan?
Oh, thank you.
Bureaucracy at its finest, folks.
that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to call the full board to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Samuelson?
Here.
Ms. Vedder?
Here.
Mrs. Labuda?
Here.
Mr. Ruiz?
Here.
Mrs. Geiger?
Here.
Mrs. Edwards?
Here.
Mr. Benson?
Here.
Mr. Steingart?
Here.
Mr. Sorensen?
Here.
Yeah, there's just two.
Okay, communication.
The 2015 meeting schedule, which I placed on the table, I've also sent it to all media. And my meeting notice distribution list, they all received it, department heads. And also Chairman Samuelson's appointment to the Sullivan County Workforce Development Board. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We have two presentations today. The first one is a presentation of the PHS Award employee from Nancy McGraw. Nancy, would you like to? Is this part of your presentation? Okay. I thought it was a gift for me, I'm sorry.
Thank you for, can you hear me? Allowing me to come in and present this very special award to one of my staff members. I'm going to read a little bit of what I have to say, and then I'm going to ask Legislator Geiger to read a letter from the State Health Commissioner. Each year since 2007, the New York State Health Department requests nominations from public health directors and commissioners across the state for something that is called the Public Health Works Honor Roll. The Public Health Works Honor Roll recognizes employees in the local public health workforce as an essential part of the New York State Health Commissioner's public health agenda to make New York one of the healthiest states in the nation. At the heart of all successful public health initiatives are the workers who promote and protect the public's health and safety. This year, the award from Dr. Zucker, New York State Health Commissioner, goes to Kim Carlson. Kim has worked for Sullivan County for more than 30 years. She's worked her way up through the ranks with her strong work ethic, and she's currently our full-charge bookkeeper. She's in charge of payroll, timekeeping, ensuring county cars are sent for maintenance, orders medical and office supplies, prepares and submits claims and vouchers for reimbursement on all of our grants, of which we have many, helps with our health emergency planning, does inventory, medical records retention and storage, notifies us of building or maintenance issues that we need to be aware of to report, and always cheerfully pitches in wherever she's asked to help when we're short-staffed and in various areas of the department. Kim often comes up with great ideas to help improve efficiency in the office and reminds me of the important deadlines that help keep the department running smoothly. Without the hard work and dedication of employees like Kim, my job and the jobs of so many of our dedicated staff would be so much harder. Kim is truly outstanding as an employee, and she's a kind, compassionate person who's always willing to help others. She truly deserves to be recognized with this prestigious award, and I'd like her to come up. Cindy to come forward.
Dear Ms. Carlson, congratulations on your selection as the 2014 New York State Public Health Works Honor Roll awardee. You were selected for this award by your agency leader based on your dedication to the field of public health and your commitment to ensuring the optimal operation of the Sullivan County Public Health Services. The Honor Roll was established to highlight the key role public health workers play in protecting and promoting the health of all New Yorkers and to encourage others to join our ranks. We hope that honoring you and your work will encourage other public health workers to aspire to your level of skill and dedication, as well as raise awareness of the essential services that public health workers provide in New York State. We recognize that at the heart of all successful public health initiatives are outstanding people who promote and protect the public's health and safety. Congratulations on your accomplishment. Thank you for all you do for New York and your community. Sincerely, Howard Zucker, Acting Commissioner of Health. I would just like to say I am a former public health nurse, and I know the dedication that it takes to do the job, so I'm proud of you as well.
Actually, 32 years.
Okay, we have another presentation, and this is for our holiday decorating contest that is held every year in the building. And this year, our winner is MIS.
All right,
So we have one more presentation today. Last week I was sitting reading the newspaper, and in it I came upon an article that said that John Manzi was retiring. And I sat there and I thought about how I know John Manzi, and it was when I first moved to Sullivan County in 1981. We had a little house in Bridgeville, and we had no TV, and we would sit and listen to the radio each week, and there would be the Bop Shop. So that was my first introduction to John Manzi, and I just thought it was the greatest show, and have always loved it. And then over the years, have seen in the paper all kinds of articles about all of the incredible work that John has done in promoting Monticello Raceway and all things horsemen and everything at the track. And I just felt that as the track has been, and the harness horsemen have been such an integral part of our economic development in our county, I just wanted to recognize John for his 50 years of hard work to promote not only the track and the horsemen, but actually all of Sullivan County. So I would like you all to please say hello to John Manzi. I'll just read what's on the plaque, and then John, if you want to say a few words, please. For an illustrious 50-year career serving one of Sullivan County's most treasured institutions, as Monticello Raceway and the Harness Horsemen's Associations are such valued organizations in Sullivan County, and you have done so much to promote the raceway, the horsemen, and subsequently all of Sullivan County, the Sullivan County Legislature recognizes you for your many years of tireless dedication as publicity director. Through your work, you have acted as a promoter and goodwill ambassador for Monticello Raceway, Sullivan County, and the entire harness horse racing industry. We thank you, and we wish you all the very best in your retirement.
As I said to Scott as I walked up here, I said, what an unexpected pleasure. You know, somebody does their work and is dedicated to what they do, and then you're recognized for what you do, for doing your job. I think it's just an incredible feeling, especially on my part. I had no idea of the lives I've touched over the years. You know, I was too busy trying to race elephants and camels and whatever we had to do here in Monticello to get some coverage for the raceway. It's a shame we had to do that. The racing couldn't stand on its own. But I've been a lifelong racer in the industry. My dad was the first stable on the grounds back in 1958. And I'm so appreciative for everything that's happened to me, and for you folks here for honoring me. I'm touched deeply. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to start public comment. We have 9 people signed up, and it appears that you're all from the same organization. So what I would ask you all is to try to limit your comments to 2.5 minutes. That would be great. So first, Sonia Hedlund.
I'm Sonia Hedlund, Callicoon Center, New York, farmer, and the president of the Board of Trustees of Radio Catskill, WJFF Radio, our local commercial-free radio station in Sullivan County. I want to thank you for the opportunity to tell you a bit about the station and also to address a particular issue that you are facing, and that is the Public Safety Committee has been dealing with an expansion of their emergency services with the construction of new towers and a funding project in the tune of about $10 million. It seems that one possibility is that the transmitter for our station, located on a tower on Elk Point Road, may be in some jeopardy of having to move. And we would like to make a case for why it is important that the transmitter stay on that tower. I think the first question that I would like to ask before my colleagues, who are staff members, volunteers, public citizens, and trustees, before they also add their voice, is the question you want to know is, how does WJF Radio really help Sullivan County? What do we really do for the county? And you as public servants are interested in services to the county, and what is it our station does? Well, first, we give citizens a chance to participate on air. These people listed on this page, about 500 of them, over our life of 24 years, have actually worked to build this station physically to help it grow. Radio Catskill is about participation of citizens in a very dynamic process. A commercial station like WAMC does not do that. We broadcast your messages, and we are on air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We broadcast school closings, road closings, locations of recycling centers. We make announcements about people, when to vote, where to get their driver's license renewed. We give your staff airtime to talk about your work, your programs, and to discuss the issues that the county is facing. We talk about the Farmland Protection Plan, about public education, public health nursing, water, recycling. We are your voice in the households of Sullivan County. WJFF finally gives organizations in this county free airtime. We do this in many ways. We air public service announcements, probably more than 3,000 every year, of all the events that small agencies are doing. They don't have the money to have ads put on commercial stations. We do this free of charge. Most recently, we had a chance during our pledge drive when people from these small agencies could come in and talk about what they do. And indeed, they did that. It was a chance for them to get on the air and promote themselves and their missions. Right now, we are seeking a greater partnership with you, and we think this is an opportunity to expand the collaboration that has begun now almost 25 years ago to become a much more vibrant collaboration, and therefore we would like to have your continued support. Of course, it will mean some change in the financial arrangements with the county and us, and that is certainly in the cards. But we very much urge you to reconsider this effort and determine a way that we can stay where we are on the tower. I've asked a couple of our trustees and board members to address you as well, and Ken Hilton will be the first one.
Hello, I'm Ken Hilton. I'm a trustee of JFF and a resident of the town of Callicoon. Thank you for allowing us to meet today with you and to share with you some of our concern about the location of our broadcasting tower, your tower, and our ability to use it. WJFF is Sullivan County's sole public radio station. We were founded 25 years ago and made our first broadcast in February of 1990. Indeed, you probably know that we're planning a year of special events and celebrations and programs to mark our birthday. Though we are one of America's smallest public radio stations, today we broadcast 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. And as many of you know, we're the only American public radio station powered by water power. I'm sure you've heard our brag that we're the best little radio station by a damn sight, and we are. Over the 25 years of WJFF's existence, we've been fortunate to broadcast from the county-owned tower on Elk Point Road in Liberty. We appreciate the favorable lease that we've had with the county over the years. The county's generosity in hosting our broadcast is clearly one of the reasons why we've been able to succeed and grow over these years, especially in a face of declining support from the federal government and continuing economic challenges in the community that we serve. Well over a year ago, we first learned of the possibility that WJFF would no longer be able to use the Elk Point Road Tower for its broadcasting. We've learned that because of additional 911 requirements and other new emergency communication needs, the tower's capacity has been reached. Additionally, we've been told that our FM broadcasts can sometimes cause technical problems interfering with the county's communication needs. Just last week, a group of us met with several of the legislators and several of the folks who run our 911 service and our other communication services to learn more about how the continued use of tower might be allowed. We understand that in recent days, our consulting engineer and others, unlike me, who understand technical issues, have been meeting with representatives of the counties, and we expect those meetings to continue. Just like Sonia, I'm here to plead our case. We're asking that the county do all that it can to allow us to continue broadcasting from the Elk Point Tower. Our preliminary research has shown us that finding a new home for our broadcast will not be easy and will not be inexpensive. We face some daunting Federal Communication Commission requirements if we change.
That was his signal.
That's 3 minutes, so if you could wrap up. Yeah, you finish your thought, but you need to wrap up.
Well, as I said, we fear that changing is going to be costly for us. That's going to be a bureaucratic nightmare. We recognize the problems that the county is facing. We hope that we can accommodate some solution that will allow us to remain.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Pat Pomeroy?
Chairman Samuelson, members of the legislature, especially my own personal legislator, Kitty Better, how are you? My name is Pat Pomeroy. I live in Roscoe, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of WJFF. And I bring a different perspective to this issue because I was the town supervisor for 8 years in the town of Rockland that had 5 major floods during my tenure. After the 204, 205, and 206 floods, the town of Rockland started a conversation about upgrading our communication systems from low band to high band so that our fire departments, our ambulance corps, our highway department, and our water and sewer departments could talk to each other in times of severe distress and in times of emergency. One of the other issues that we've dealt with at that time was also how to communicate with the people on the ground, our constituents who are dying for information to know what's happening, where they can access emergency services, where they can get water, clothing, whatever they need in the times of these crises. And I want you to remember that when you're deliberating. Because it's wonderful. I applaud you for this great project of making communications better in Sullivan County. We know it's difficult because of the mountains and how difficult it is for all these sound waves to go back and forth. But let's not forget about Mr. and Mrs. Jones who live down in Wurtsboro, or me who lives in Roscoe, or someone who lives in Jeffersonville who needs to know how to get services and what's happening on the ground. The only place that they're going to get that is radio. You mentioned listening to radio with John Manzi when you was talking before. And we are a grassroots radio station. We have a body in this station 20 out of 24 hours a day. We have people on the grounds every single day. We don't go on automatic tape and go away for the weekend. We're there. And when an emergency happens in Sullivan County, it's WJFF grassroots radio that's going to interrupt a broadcast or interrupt a song or a piece of music and tell the people in the community, your constituents, what's happening. So as you go and deliberate about this tower, I want you to think about the constituency in the county and where they get their emergency information from. I think the radios are great, but don't forget the little guys who are listening to the radio to find out what's going on.
Thank you, Pat. Next is Adam. Ladies and gentlemen of the legislature, good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I'd like to start by expressing deep gratitude for the years and years of extremely generous arrangement that the county's offered WJFF and hanging our tower and hanging our transmitter on the Elk Point Tower. I'm acutely sensitive and aware of the sort of 2 critical issues that are facing the people working on this project, and they are issues of interference and of loading. The interference issue I believe to be 100% solvable. I think that's an issue that when it presents itself can be immediately solved, and if you speak to the people involved, they'll tell you that WJFF has immediately left to solve problems like that when they make themselves present. The question of loading is a little less clear. At the time, this figure that we've heard is that with the new radios on the tower and WJFF's transmitter, that tower will be at 97% of its capacity, which is too close for anyone's comfort. There's a significant benefit to the county. There's a couple of significant benefits to the county involved in the WJFF transmitter remaining on that tower. The first is one of a paying tenant who would be, I'm sure, involved in a very long-term lease and would generate substantial income for the county over the course of several years. The other benefit is a little less tangible. It's something called community capital, where WJFF basically makes the county a better place and a more desirable place to live and attracts new residents and new businesses to be here. It's just one of the many facets of the gem that makes Sullivan County a remarkable place to be. The big question is, can the loading issue be mitigated? And that's the question that I think is going to make or break this. And I think it's worth investigating absolutely to the fullest. The WJFF has expressed willingness to shoulder the financial burden involved in augmenting or strengthening the tower so that the load issue becomes not an issue. And the interference issue, as I said before, I think is completely solvable. So again, as you deliberate on this, I encourage you to stretch the limits and to fully investigate the possible ways that the loading issue can be solved as you move forward with this project. And thank you, and happy holidays. Thank you very much. Okay, Marie Grimaldi. It's Maria, isn't it?
I'll be brief.
Maria, just pull the mic down a little bit for her. There you go.
I was a charter member of WJFF before it was WJFF, when it was Jeff Hydro, when we were out there selling popcorn to get the hydropower going. What's most important about WJFF, and I don't know if many of you realize this, because I realize that one of the issues here is a security and homeland security issue and communications issue. We must leave WJFF at the Elk Tower location because their signal reaches far beyond Sullivan County into Pennsylvania. There are people in Pennsylvania that get no other radio station. Do you realize that? It's very, very interesting. There are locations in Sullivan County where the only signal they get is WJFF. So on that point alone, I think it's very important to understand the importance of the station, and it's supported by public money. There's no commercial support for it, just as you folks are supported by taxpayer money. And I think there's something to be said for that, that there is a camaraderie between the county legislature and WJFF. So please think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Diane Campbell.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I actually worked for the county for 28 years and was a public health director. And JFF was invaluable in getting information out to the public on all kinds of issues: bioterrorism, oral health, rabies, Ebola. I mean, this is a place where it was a benefit to the county. I didn't have to pay to go there to tell people what to do. It was not only informative, it was interactive. So as these issues come up in the community, while you're doing the radio show, people can call in, they can ask you. It was just, I just wanted to come and offer my support in terms of how beneficial and important this was to the whole public health efforts. So thank you very much. And the other part of it is, I think that there's 2 paid staff, maybe 1 part-time, and all the rest are volunteers. These are people that are keeping this running on a volunteer, and managing volunteers, as anyone knows, is a massive effort. So they do a great job, and I just wanted to offer my support.
Thank you. David Dan.
My name is David Dan. I live in the town of Liberty, and I'm one of those volunteers that Diane just mentioned. I've done a radio broadcast, a jazz show on WJFF for the last 25 years, almost 25 years. And I just want to take a brief moment to say that WJFF is a remarkable resource in that it's not something that you normally would find in a county of our size, and it allows many, many people, as Diane said, to come on a weekly basis and present all sorts of cultural and community information. What I do is jazz show, and I would love it if we only did jazz shows, but there are many other types of music that are available on WJFF: opera, classical music, salsa, Latin music, blues, rock, all kinds of things. Teenagers, all the way up to people my age are participating. Exactly. And so I do think that this is something that sometimes gets overlooked in the technical aspects of discussing the issues facing the station on the tower with the antenna, that situation. We have a real gem of resource here, and if there's some way to continue to have this wonderful collaboration that we've had with the county and using the Elk Point Road Tower. I think that would be to the benefit of everyone, especially those residents who have come to depend on the station. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Ann?
Thank you very much for, I think I got to bring it up, right? It's been a long time since I've been on radio. And I suppose in some way...
You're still not.
I hold on to things. But I always come with something on the back of the envelope, so this will not be very long.
So did Abraham Lincoln, just so
And then
you know.
usually also a prop, okay? And the first thing that I do want to say is thank you very much. I want to point out that David Dan not only does a jazz show, but when we started the station, he was the guy who was up there hammering the nails and building the studio building. And it's normal, and I suppose for me to reminisce a little bit at our 25th anniversary, but just let me say a couple of words about how this all started. In 1986, Malcolm and I, my husband Malcolm Brown and I, had moved up to the county, and we put an ad in the paper, and we said, are you interested in starting a public radio station? Our first meeting, which was at Luke Rupp's Lake Jeff Hotel, got 50 to 60 people to come. And when they came, the enthusiasm and the spirit that was in that group and the willingness to volunteer and get involved was just absolutely inspiring. It gave us the energy to do what we had to do, which included a whole lot of bureaucratic stuff. But we began to have fundraisers throughout this county. We started, our first fundraiser was at the Congregation Ahaveth Israel in Liberty, a chamber music concert. We went to Morningside Park. We went to Brad's Dance, our red hot White Lake Blues. Was it, or jazz? Was it jazz? In any case, the point was that an enormous outpouring of support and activity, a community effort began. And what that began, for me, I'm a librarian, and I was a librarian at the college at the time. What that meant to us is that we had an ability to get people involved in a vital way in educational radio. My interest as a librarian was to get people to be educated. They didn't have to go to school or college. It would be good if they did, but they could turn on their radio and they could be educated and introduced to the whole world. And that's what we've done for 25 years. That's one of the things that I'm proudest of is our youth. We have a youth radio project, which is funded in part by your Agency for Your Youth Bureau. I'm going to wind it up right now.
You need a smaller envelope.
I got it. I know. I'm not even. You'll notice that I have not looked at my envelope.
Neither did Abraham Lincoln.
We have kids who come to that station who get involved when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, and they don't leave until they're going off to college. Where our door is open, we bring them in, we bring their parents in, we bring their brothers and sisters in. This is more than radio. It's an involvement, it's a big thing. You have been a central partner, and our place on the tower and the fact that our lease was at the rate that it was, that generosity allowed us to grow and prosper. And we thank you, and we hope that we can work together with you to find a way to keep us there and keep the listeners who've been listening, the same people and even more, able to hear our signal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Malcolm, final speaker.
He's our founder.
Saving the best for last.
Two of them were the founders.
Just remember the Gettysburg Address was on the back of an envelope too.
People sit on standards. We got Abe Lincoln, Ann Larson, and me. You guys are hard acts to follow. You know how that's in showbiz. I do have something to say something to you about. And now my background and training is in the humanities, so I would be talking about things like generosity and public benefit and so forth, kind of in the ordinary course of things. I was trained in philosophy. But what I want to talk to you about is kilowatt hours and KVAs, which are close to kilowatt hours, but they have to do with direct current and so forth, technical matters. Now, I've presented a copy of this report, and this report has to do with something very close to the Elk Point Road Tower. It has to do with what I call a backbone now. There's a backbone of electric conduit or current that isn't in the ground yet, but I think it'll be in the ground in the next 8 or 9 months. And it runs from Fireman's Park, which is where the turbine that looks somewhat like this is to be installed, whose capacity is 900 kilowatts. Now that 900 kilowatts is sufficient, almost precisely sufficient, to carry the complete load of Liberty Central School, meaning the elementary, the middle school, and the high school, which is roughly 2 million kilowatt hours on an annual basis. Now, their budget, and I've spoken pretty extensively to individual people around Liberty, but also to groups like the village board and the town board and representatives of the school board and the Firemen's Association board. Firemen's Association would lease the ground of the turbine. In any case, I mentioned a backbone. That's oftentimes a metaphor that's used. For example, the backbone that would stretch from roughly Long Island to the state of Virginia, 20 miles off the east coast of the US, and for which Google said, I think we can find $20 billion to help that along. Now, that's offshore wind. This is onshore wind, but Liberty, New York is a very good place if you're onshore to look for wind. It's been identified by a study commissioned by this county, probably familiar with it, went on along about 2010, 2012, did an inventory of good places to find wind. Well, one very good place is about a mile uphill from Liberty Central School. But it gives the possibility, okay, of bringing that backbone power down and powering the entire school. I mentioned roughly 100%, but the granting agency, NYSERDA, has said, don't you go past 110%, because, or don't come looking to us for funds for that last 10%. So we're aware of that, but now, if you had a spare 10% and you're thinking 200 or 2 million kilowatt hours in a year, you might want to think of a spur line. Now, as you're coming down Ravona Hill Road and you're headed for Buckley, Buckley's where the school is, you run right past Benton Hollow. But Benton Hollow links to, this is the neck bone connected to the hip bone and so forth. You go by Benton Hollow leads to Elk Point. Relatively short distances now. So this same backbone, and I've talked at some length, stop, okay, I went down. But anyway, this report is in the hands of Dick Martinkovic. It's in the hands of Alex Rao. These are familiar names to you, familiar people. Alex in particular has scoped out the technical details, and they seem kind of warm to the idea. What about a backup system for the emergency broadcast, county emergency broadcasts, existing or planned backup system? Now there's a second backup. You may be familiar with the fact that the Fukushima reactor, when it blew up, it had the additional difficulty that its backup system went too. That can happen. And in times of global warming and climate change, it seems like Pat Pomeroy talked about, didn't you talk about 5 floods, 5 or 6 floods? Okay, we seem to be programmed for more floods, more hurricanes, more Sandys. Anyway, some of the turbines are designed so that they can withstand the Sandys, but they can give you a backup to the backup. I've suggested that to Dick Martinkovic and Alex Rao. They have vetted it in a preliminary way. The thing couldn't happen right away, but it could happen, maybe in an 18-month period. And we do have a track record, particularly at WJFF, of having a big idea that people will say, gee, that'll take a long time to get going, and then getting it going rather quickly.
Thank you. Cindy Geiger is asked to have 1 minute, so you have 1 minute.
1 minute. Now, I would like to urge my colleagues today to support and continue an open dialogue toward a solution for WJFF. I think every one of us has been impacted by that radio station. They are non-commercial, and in order for them to find an alternative location, from what I understand, it's very costly and most likely will not be financially viable. So I, for one, support investigating solutions. I don't think there's any harm in that, and I urge my colleagues to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, we're going to go to resolutions at this point. I'm sorry you didn't sign up, Ken. Absolutely not. You are go. If you would try to keep it short.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. Thank you. Number one is, I'm very happy yesterday we got what we wanted. What it proved to me is that when Sullivan County finds a need, they can work together, they can solve a problem, and we should carry this forward in a lot more of our problems instead of fighting among ourselves and being our own worst enemy. This has to do with the 2% cap and the budget. Yesterday on CNN, before they were talking about the state of the state, before the budget, before the announcement was made on the casinos, one of the state people said, "Oh, we got lots of money. Put your requests in." Well, the 2% cap is the worst thing that happened as far as I'm concerned. So if they got so much money, NISAC, which all the counties belong to, should tell the state, you know what? You know that additional piece of Medicaid we have to pick up this year? You pick it up. That will give us more money for us to spend here on a local level. Because right now, the way it's set up and the way the budget came out, you're talking about $11.13 a thousand. So you use a $100,000 house, we're going to get $19 back if you are a STAR recipient. If you're a business, you don't get anything. If you rent, you get nothing. But if you're a STAR recipient, you're going to get $19 back. So for that $19 that a homeowner is going to get back, this is what we're not going to get. We're not going to get bridge crews that we need because we only got 1 instead of 4. We're not going to get enough striping on our highways so it's easier to see where we're driving at night because the lines are not visible because we save on that. We're going to get less paving miles so the roads are going to take longer to fix. 911 will be shortchanged. The Sheriff's Department will be shortchanged when they have cars and may have to go an extra year instead of getting to a call on time or be fixed so we won't have a car. Our road patrol, which is thin because we really don't have enough police protection in the county of Sullivan. Our college is going to have additional funding because we cannot live at $4 million a year forever and hope that it's going to be successful. The DA's office needs to have adequate staffing so we don't get possibility of a case being thrown out because it's not directed in a timely fashion. We know the issues with probation, we're losing good people to go elsewhere. We need to take care of ourselves first. And this fact of 2% being the gold standard, you know how I feel about it. It's the worst thing that ever happened. And for $19, or which I say, a nickel a day, we're losing all those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, we're going to move on to resolutions. What we're going to start with are the resolutions that we would have addressed in the executive committee. So they're at the bottom of the addendum page, and it says from executive committee. Okay, so we're going to start, I'll just do it as they're numbered there, so we're going to start with number 9.
Okay, hold on, I just want to.
Let me find the paper.
Okay, let Annie talk and you can look.
Okay, I just want to mention that these resolutions that were supposed to come from executive committee are now being introduced by you.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep. Okay, has everybody got the page now?
And I'll change them when I number them.
Great. Okay, and again, I'm just going to go by the way they're numbered on this addendum, which for us right now, number 9 is to
authorize contract extension not to exceed 90 days.
motion. Second. Laura, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Okay, number 10.
Authorize an agreement with New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services.
Move it.
Second. Laura, discussion?
Yes.
Kitty?
I'm not clear that this is the system that I would like to see in place, and the reason why I'm suggesting that is not because I'm against this office, it's that I think that maybe this should be RFP at this point in time to give other outside legal agencies the possibility of perhaps they can bring it in at a better budget line. And we've done that in the past when we dealt with accounting organizations, and I think that for that reason I am not in favor of this resolution.
Okay, any other comment?
Is Michelle here?
Michelle is in her office.
Okay,
Working
because
diligently.
I asked her a couple of questions beforehand. One of the things that I think, if we have to go get her, just to my recollection is that one of the recommendations from the Law Enforcement Review Panel, and this is going back to 2012, was to RFP the contracts. And so at the time, I asked Michelle if she could find out from the New York State Office of Indigent Law Services if this particular agreement was contingent on whether there would be an RFP. So I really think that, we went to all that trouble of having the Law Enforcement Review Panel meet. And my recollection, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong on this, was that you had said that both firms had said they would be open to RFPs. They thought that was a good process. There's a lot of changes coming down the pike with the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services, and that would, I think, impact any RFP going forward, that those changes are incorporated, because I think this goes all the way to 2016, something like that. How long are we locked in?
May of
Josh?
16.
May 31st, 2016.
The grant was run
Josh,
through-
could you explain, because when you're mixing apples and oranges, explain this piece of it, because this is, go ahead.
This is a grant from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services that has a term of June 1st of 2013 through May 31st of 2016. So, and they allow, even though we haven't signed a contract, that they allow the work that's already have been done from 13 through to today to be claimed. So you could, going forward, switch and do an RFP and select different vendors, but the new vendor wouldn't be able to claim that money going back to 13.
And that's from the state? They've said
This
that
is
the new vendor would not be able to claim? Because my
They're
understanding...
allowing the work that the existing vendor is doing today, so if there was a different vendor, they wouldn't have done any work in that time frame.
And so Michelle had said that it was for a specific gang-related, that's why I think it's good to have her, so that we get all the information out here at the same time.
I guess the clarification that we are looking for, both Cora and I, is are we saying that this organization going forward would be managing the legal cases for the indigent, or by authorizing this, are we just authorizing the payment for what they already did? That's the first piece of my question. And the second piece of my question is, can we still, if we agree to this, can we still authorize an RFP for the future of who is going to service the indigent?
Yeah, the way this works is we have a contract, this county has a contract with this state office. There's not a contract with these two entities per se. The county chooses how the money gets allocated once we get the award and sign the contracts. So if we were to switch vendors, say just hypothetically July 1st of 15, the existing vendors would get paid up through that date, and then the new vendors would be eligible for this other pot of
But
money.
that's not what Michelle
Okay.
said to
All right,
me
thank
this
you for the
morning. Wait, 1 second, that's why I want Michelle to come in here. Well, because she said that they would, if they got the money, they would hire someone specifically for gang-related and
But
someone
that's a
else.
different question than Kitty's asking.
But that's what, when you apply for a grant and you get grant funding, you have to deliver according to the guidelines of the grant. You can't take the money and then do something else with it.
Yeah,
So-
that's it. The new vendor would have to deliver on those initiatives to be able to draw down the funds.
But my understanding was that they were waiting to find out before hiring those specific services. So I need to get clear on what she said this morning and what you're saying now, that going forward, those jobs are what the grant is specifically giving them for. Am I clear in what I'm saying? Or do we have that answer?
I don't.
Okay, we don't.
Is there a problem with tabling this until we have the answers to that?
We have-
Is
wait,
this
Kathy,
time
that's-
sensitive?
Kathy,
No, no.
I'm sorry.
They're
I
not told,
apologize.
I'm gonna wait till they have the resolution that is for the RFP, because I think, again, they're mixing, I think, apples and oranges,
Which
so.
is-
Oh, yeah, so Josh would just answer the,
I don't know that another month is gonna.
okay, so can we, I'll move to table this resolution, there's no more discussion on it, then, second?
Yes.
Okay,
Second.
thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11.
No, you.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
All in favor of tabling?
All in favor of tabling?
All opposed? Jonathan, Scott? That's it, okay, so 7-2.
No.
Authorize a negative deck for purposes of secret.
Motion?
Motion.
Gene, second. Cora? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Okay.
Next
Number 12 is a roll
resolution's a-
call.
yeah. Resolution to enact local law number 4 of 2014.
Motion? Cora, second. Gene? Any discussion on this?
This is for solar initiative in.
For the Solar City
Right.
initiative at the COB,
At the ACC, right?
or the ACC rather, I'm sorry.
Okay, roll
Okay.
call.
Roll call.
Mr. Samuelson?
Yes.
Ms. Vedder?
Yes.
Mrs. Labuda?
Yes.
Mr. Ruis?
Yes.
Mrs. Geiger?
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mr. Steingart?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Next, authorize the county manager to enter into agreement extending the contract between the County of Sullivan and Teamsters Local 445.
Move it.
Motion. Kathy,
Second.
second. Gene. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Number 14.
Authorize the county manager to enter into a lease agreement with the New York State Department of Labor.
Motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, and Alan second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Thank you. Number 15.
Authorize the county manager to sign the Office for the Aging Annual Implementation Plan.
Move it.
Motion?
Second.
Kathy, second. Kitty?
Please.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Okay, number 16.
Reappoint 3 members to the Sullivan County Soil and Water Conservation District Board
Point
of
of order.
Directors.
Point of order on this one. As a voting member of that board, do I have to recuse myself from this vote?
Sam? No.
There's no
Oh, there's no
monetary
conflict.
exchange.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, there
I
is.
get paid to go to those
Right.
board meetings from that board.
Oh, I thought it was free.
Yes, then you have to, Gene.
Then you're, okay, so Gene move, set again.
What, Sam?
You're a voting member by virtue of being on this board?
No, it's about the
No, it's an
monetary.
appointment. It could be somebody else on this board. It doesn't have to be
The
me.
board has to have a representative on that
Right.
board.
Tom.
Our parliamentarian is out
Tom?
here. I would.
He's here.
I would think.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
because-
standing right now.
I would think because it's a requirement of how we set it
I
up,
think he should abstain from it.
that he should not have to recuse himself from voting here.
Well,
Tom?
I'm fine with that, but I'm gonna recuse myself because it looks like it's improprietous for me to do that. If that's a good word I made. I'm sorry.
You certainly did.
You make he has the absolute right to make his statement as to why he believes there's a conflict of interest, in his opinion as a legislature under the Code of Ethics. He then refrains from taking a vote and he requests an abstention. It is the chairman's determination later, potentially, to state that that wasn't a proper, completely spurious reason. The chairman has the authority then later to record it as a yes vote with Gene's request for abstention. I'm explaining the procedures only.
That's fine.
So right now, I can't, the financial issues that you get paid for that, in your opinion, if you feel that's a conflict of interest, you make that statement now and under the Code of Ethics, and then unless the chairman upsets it later, your abstention stands.
Okay, so,
That's my statement.
Okay.
I would like to recuse myself from this vote, just.
so noted. All in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
Okay, number 17.
Appoint appoint Mr. Paul Gunther to the board of the Sullivan County Industrial Development Agency.
Motion, Jonathan, second Ira. Discussion?
Yeah. I'm a little uncomfortable with appointing Mr. Gunther. Nothing personal against him at all. I was hoping for a process. There's 77,000 people in Sullivan County. I was hoping to have input from numerous people that were interested in serving on the IDA. And my vision for small private sector business, smaller job creators, which I feel the IDA focuses on both, but I feel as legislator on the western end of the county, we really need to increase our efforts for small private sector businesses, smaller job creators. And so I'm not going to support this today. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? I would like to say at this time that to have the opportunity to have somebody of the business acumen and background of Paul Gunther sitting on our IDA, especially after what happened for this county yesterday, I think is only an asset. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with the way it's being done, and I fully support Mr. Gunther's addition to the board. Any other comment? All in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Opposed?
Opposed?
I'm not opposed to Paul Gunther, I just feel.
It's either
You're
you're
opposed.
opposed or you're voting yes.
7-2, Cynthia Core.
Thank you, everybody. Number 18.
Sorry, I have to record this. Authorize the writing off and removal of old and or uncollectible debt of the treasurer's Fuller account agent.
Motion, Gene. Second, Alan. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Number 19.
Modify resolution number 12914 regarding prime rehabilitation services.
Motion?
Motion.
Gene. Second, Kitty. Any discussion?
I would like to state why I'm in favor of this, and I think it has to do with what's going on in the rehab services that we are now providing in our county, being more short-term and better beneficial to all of our county residents who would be going there. So being able to get the rehabilitation is going to be primary for the facility to do better. So I'm in support of this resolution.
Okay, any other comment?
I just wanted to ask a question, that the amount not to exceed for the new rehab unit for short-term rehab, is that for the total services that are offered in the rehab unit? Does anybody know? Completion of the unit for short-term rehab. Does anybody know what that entails, the 425,000?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry, Josh.
I didn't hear the question.
No, the not to exceed amount that's, it's being increased from, is that for the total rehab unit, or is that for specific services within the rehab unit? I'm just,
I believe it's total.
the operation of the total rehab unit?
All speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy for the whole building.
So there's no additional cost to running that rehab unit?
It could be that the rehab unit could be triggered to go over the limit because they're doing high rehab. But I'm not gonna say that that's all inclusive what it is.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Thank you. 20.
Appoint members to the Charter Review
Move it.
Commission.
Second, Alan. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
9-0.
Okay, thank you. Number 21.
Adopt a public wireless internet user policy, ACC.
Okay. Motion. Second from Gene. Second from Kitty. Discussion.
I just want to also state that I'm very much in favor of this proposal because it has to do with the ability of people out there who might be using the short-term rehab to have access to be able to use the internet and continue their business practices. So I think it's very important if we're going to have a rehab unit short-term that's going to work.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
9-zip.
Okay, this time we're going to move on to the larger packet, which are, that all have to do with our budget. So first,
And then Ira can go.
yeah. So the first 6 resolutions are roll call resolutions, so we'll start.
Now, number 3 is not a roll call.
We're doing this packet?
There are 5 of them that are roll calls.
Okay.
So what are you saying, Kitty?
I just want to make sure I'm on the
Yeah,
right
the large packet. Okay. Number 1.
Adopt the 2015-2020 capital plan for Sullivan County.
Motion?
So moved.
Kathy, second. Ira, discussion? All in favor?
No.
It's a roll call.
Oh, roll call. Yes.
Mr. Samuelson.
Yes.
Ms. Vedder.
Yes.
Mrs. Labuda.
Yes.
Mr. Ruis.
Yes.
Mrs. Geiger.
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards.
Yes.
Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Mr. Steingart.
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yes.
Okay, second.
Authorize the issuance of a bond 7.073 million to pay off part of the cost of various county purposes.
Move it.
Second.
I'll second.
Jean?
I just want to
Discussion.
ask a discussion item here. If we issue this, that doesn't mean that we have to do all of that. That gets done later. Am I correct on that?
Or it might
The
not be done at
resolution
all,
is
like the roof of the
is
ACC.
bond authority for the treasurer's office to go issue bonds, and they're generally looking to bond in March of 15.
But what I'm asking, and I believe I just wanted clarification on, is this is the 7 million, and we could potentially only bond 6 at some, we're just giving the allowance up to that amount, correct?
That's the vote today.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, roll call.
No
All in favor,
impact on the
roll call.
tax cap.
No.
It doesn't affect bond rating.
No.
No, we don't, I mean, we didn't feel it affect bond rating. The tax cap, these payments wouldn't come, you'd be issuing the bonds in 15 with payments coming in 16, so it has really no payment impact on your 15 budget.
And I noticed that there's no retiring debt. For this year,
For the I think if you're looking at 16, yeah, it's pretty level from 15 to 16, so I think the next resolution, number 3, kind of ties into how one strategy of paying for some of the increased debt service costs.
in 17.
Number 3.
In 2017.
The debt service is relatively level between 2016,
I just
15
want to
and
make one
16.
comment that you just brought out of bond rating. When I got back from Bethel, my one email I got was from Moody's. They have recognized the gaming facility and as a whole, not just gaming, but as a resort, and it's a positive news for Sullivan County.
Wow. Thanks for that information. That's excellent.
Seriously.
It's also very timely.
So let's vote.
Mr. Samuelson.
Yes.
Ms. Vedder.
Yes.
Mrs. Labuda.
Yes.
Mr. Ruis.
Yes.
Mrs. Geiger.
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards.
Yes.
Mr. Benson.
Yes.
Mr. Steingart.
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yes.
Create a reserve fund for the payment of bonded indebtedness.
Second, Cora, discussion?
Yeah, when was this first discussed, creating a reserve fund?
I believe in one of the capital budgeting meetings. I don't recall exactly what date, but and it's mentioned, I think, in my budget message as well.
And so, at this point, what's the amount?
It's 1.2 million.
But that's not a percentage, it's just, I mean, you arrived at that number somehow.
Oh, it was the excess of, you have the fund balance policy requires the 5% of general fund expenditures or appropriations, so this is money in excess of that 5% requirement.
So that means it's gonna change every year.
It will change every year as unless your fund balance doesn't change, but your fund balance is continually changing, so that,
It's
and your
fluctuating.
appropriations change every year too, so the 5% will, gradually increase from year to year as your spending goes up.
So what is the mechanism by which it is or is not accessible? If it's a reserve fund, because my understanding.
You would have to pass another resolution to utilize this money to pay debt. It can't just be spent by staff or the treasurer's office. The board would have to formally pass a resolution to use these funds.
Nancy, do you have anything to say about the amount or the mechanism?
You know, I'm not that familiar with this. I was trying to look at everything so that if it's a reserve fund though, I'm fine with reserve funds.
Call the question.
So we'll have 75 reserve.
All in favor?
No, oh, yes.
This is not a roll call.
No, it's not a roll call.
All in favor? Did you get it? Any opposed?
9-0.
Okay, great. We're back to roll calls again.
Adopt the 2015 county budget as amended.
Move it.
Second, Alan. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sanderson?
Yes.
Ms. Vedder?
Yes.
Mrs. Labuda?
Yes.
Mr. Ruis?
Yes.
Mrs. Geiger?
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mr. Steingart?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Congratulations.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody in the Office of Management and Budget because I think we came under the tax cap. I know Ken Walter's not happy about that, but we didn't cut services, we added staff. And I think one of the important things is that the only gap that's left is between the capital plan and the annual operating budget, that we have a bridge, which is a long-term plan. And that's been, brought up by a lot of outside agencies, the outside auditing firm and the outside S&P and Moody's. So I want to thank you guys in the Office of Management and Budget, and I hope that in future years it won't be the week before Christmas, because then that falls on the individual tax assessors all over the county.
Okay, number 5.
Adopt the sum to be raised by the county tax. This is a roll call.
Okay. Second, Alan. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Samuelson?
Yes.
Ms. Vedder?
Yes.
Mrs. Labuda?
Yes.
Mr. Ruis?
Yes.
Mrs. Geiger?
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mr. Steingart is left. Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
A portion of 2015 county tax, also a roll call.
Motion. Alan. Second.
I'll
Kitty.
second. That's fine.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Samuelson?
Yes.
Ms. Vedder?
Yes.
Mrs. Labuda?
Yes.
Mr. Ruis?
Yes.
Mrs. Geiger?
Yes.
Mrs. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mr. Steingart? Oh, Mrs. absent. Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
I'd like to ask for a motion for number 7 to 33, that's all in relation to the re-levy, the warrants and the abstracts,
Move it.
and school taxes. Thank you.
I'll second
Kathy,
that.
second. Alan. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
Okay. Sure. Great. Okay. That concludes that. Let's.
You want to go back to the?
I would like to go back to the agenda there, and we'll go back to the agenda.
No, okay, wait a minute. We have an agenda, addendum, and
We're
we
gonna go
have
to
a
the addendum.
legislator package.
We'll finish this
Okay,
page and then go
addendum.
back to this.
This one?
Okay, so
Wait,
these,
we're starting at
these,
34.
we're back to the full board addendum, December, it's dated December 18th, and it says from planning committee.
Thanks for your patience, folks.
And thanks for coming up for public comment too.
It's awesome, isn't it? It's been such a long time.
Go spend time with your man.
Okay, number 1.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move from the planning committee as a block. We just discussed those a few hours
Second
ago.
motion.
Okay, first Malin, second Kathy. Any discussion? All in favor to move 1 through 7?
8-0.
Opposed? All right, great.
Government services.
Government services, big whopping agenda here.
Thank you. I wanted to keep it short and sweet.
Number 8.
Authorize and execute agreement with Toski and Company.
Motion. Gene, second. Alan, discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
Okay. We will now move on to the full board agenda.
Okay. Number 6.
Wait, I would make sure everybody says Cindy's looking to rebuttal. It's the full board.
No, I
agenda.
got it, I got it.
No,
No,
you got,
full
no, full board agenda, not that one.
Okay,
Okay, got it? Everybody got full board agenda?
Not now.
Is number one to reclassify?
Ellen?
The first one is reclassify a position in the probation department.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay, yep, you got it.
All right, everybody got? All right, number one.
Reclassify position in the probation department.
Move it.
Kathy.
Second, Alan. Discussion?
We had
All
it
in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
Okay. Number two.
Amend resolution number 310 of 14, setting the appropriate effective date for the creation of the senior typist position in public health
Move it.
services.
I'll second.
Kathy,
Alan. Yeah. Discussion? All in favor?
8-0.
Opposed? Okay. Number three.
Can we move 3, 4, and 5 in a block?
No,
Huh?
no, I have to recuse myself from number 3 as well. I'm a voting member of that board.
Okay, so number three.
Modify resolution number 34714 by establishing terms for the voting membership of the Sullivan County Electrical Licensing
Okay.
Board.
I'll move it.
Motion, Alan, second, Kitty. All in favor? Opposed? And Jean, you're
Abstain.
recusing?
Yes,
Okay,
7-0.
abstain. Okay. Number four.
Modify the 2014 county budget.
Motion, Alan, second, Jean. Discussion? All in favor?
8-0.
Opposed? Number five.
Authorize contract renewal with New York State Department of Health.
Motion,
I'll make the motion.
Alan, second, Kitty. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Number 6 needs to be amended after we make a motion.
Okay.
So
Motion.
moved.
All right.
Kathy.
Second.
Second, Alan. Okay.
I need amendment to delete Deputy Commissioner of Public Works. Only the Commissioner of Public Works.
Okay, do we have a motion on that amendment? Kathy, second, Jonathan. So, any discussion on that? A motion on the amendment, or Paul, all right, whatever I'm doing.
Resolution as amended.
No, calling the
it's
question
just
on the amendment.
Calling the question on the
first.
amendment first, all in favor?
Eight,
Okay, and now resolution as amended.
8-0.
Okay. 7.
7, authorized contract with Dr. Eileen Treacy.
Motion?
Motion.
Jonathan, second. Jean, discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
Thank you. Number 8.
Can we move 8, 9, and 10 in a block, please?
8, 9, and 10
So
in the block.
moved.
We have a motion. Kathy, second.
I'll second.
Alan. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
Thank you.
Number 11, number 11 was amended in Public Works
Okay.
to, from 1,500 to 15,000.
DPW.
Huh?
It was amended at the DPW meeting.
Isn't that Public Works?
I'm sorry, Public Works. I'm thinking public safety.
It's a
I'm
long
sorry.
day, isn't
It is.
it?
It's getting longer
It was
by the
amended,
moment.
it was amended, it came out of committee correctly, it's, just didn't make the
Okay.
board agenda, so I'm treating it as a typo.
Okay.
So let it reflect that it should be 15,000.
Okay.
Right, motion is second, I need now.
Okay, motion from Kathy, second from Alan. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
8-0.
12. No?
8-0. No, that was for 11, 8-0, now I'm doing 12.
Wait, that's what he said.
Are you gonna do 12? It's a long day.
Request, can you read it? 'Cause I'm-
Request to not entertain new outside contracting agencies for the 2015 budget. Motion?
Kitty.
Kitty, second. Second, Alan. Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to speak in favor of this resolution because it is my belief that the county has accumulated a number of outside agencies in a negative way, almost as an old boys club or a pork barrel type thing. And I'm not trying to accuse any organization of just being that. What I think is important is that any new organization that wants to receive monies from this body should come and give a presentation, well in advance of the ask of what they're asking for, and that the legislative body needs to have an advance notice of their income tax Form 990 that identifies the money that's actually being spent and who is on the board of directors and what the organization is attempting to do before they receive monies from this body. I believe that we need to change how we do our outside agencies piece so that the next legislative body should not inherit the system that we have inherited. It should not be continuing to go on to increase the number of outside agencies without this legislative body having a full look at what those organizations are doing and how they're doing it and how they're spending their monies. And that 990 form would give us that information well in advance prior to coming on this body for an adoption of the budget.
Any other, Jonathan?
I have no issue with the spirit of what's trying to be done here, but first of all, not all nonprofits file or are required to file 990s.
I believe they are.
They're not, there's income thresholds by which they're under a fairly decent amount these days to file a postcard. So I don't know if this resolution would preclude any smaller agency from getting funding from the county. Second, you don't represent which 990 you'd be looking for. They're due, if you extend them to the fullest point, 11 and a half months after the prior year end. So this doesn't specify what form you'd be looking for. Would it be which year, the current year, the most immediate past year? So, I think the spirit of what you're looking for, we've accomplished through the resolution that you work very difficult to get done, where it requires all these things before any monies are expended by the county. But I think this, unfortunately, the way it's written is going to create much more confusion than what you're trying to achieve.
Any other comments?
Well, I'd just like to say that from having been in the not-for-profit grant world and now being on the sort of grantor side of things, which is an unusual, change, I think, for me anyway, I think that I've seen over, my career, the feds have gone from an earmark system to a grant system. The state has gone to a grant system, and with Governor Cuomo having been prior director of HUD, Housing and Urban Development, and now as governor in New York State, that's modeling more of the system. And I think it gives, going to what Kitty's proposing without being more bureaucratic, there's a way to do it without bureaucracy, is that it gives a more level playing field to what are all very worthy causes. So if you just see a list and an amount, how do you pick and choose? So I think what Kitty's proposing is it allows a much more deliberative process so that there's a way to be able to distinguish, rather than, I think one of those agencies came and asked for 100,000 and 20 ended up in there, and I have no way of knowing how that number was picked. So I agree with Kitty's proposal. I just think if we need to have an amendment on the floor to make it less bureaucratic, but still fulfill the purpose of saying, they're all worthy agencies, but then how do you reach an amount?
Once again, kind of failed to understand the process here. There is no earmark. Every group that we wish to fund has to come forward and request a contract that has to be approved, and in that contract is where you would have discretion over deliverables and other things. There are no earmarks. There are no specific amounts. There are no lists. People keep referring to lists. There are some information that was provided for some guidance, but each year, every group that this board intends to fund has to come forward and do exactly what you're asking. So it's, I think you just need to understand the process and the flow of how these things get done, and you can accomplish everything you want to do in that process.
So when I looked at the full
when
board,
did all of these groups come forward?
when I looked at the full board budget, and I asked specifically of the county manager's office where these agencies were listed, because in the past they were listed in separate lines. They were lumped together in one line, and then that's where that list came from. And that's the reason why I suggest that the new ones that are on this list not be funded this time round, so that we have a better look at what and how it is occurring.
They won't be funded unless they come forward with a contract that you have the right to not enter into. There's no list, there's no agency in the budget.
But
There
they haven't all
is an
come
amount
forward.
included in the tax levy so that should you choose to go into those contracts, there's money to do that. There's no obligation to do that. We have in the past rejected, accepted, done other contracts. I'm just saying, it's the process, you still, it's been years, but you need to get an understanding of where this is going.
Do we authorize the contracts, or is
Yes.
this an authorization by the county manager?
No,
we
no, this is
authorize the
entirely
county
by us.
manager to enter into you. We do it every single year. You did it last year, you did it the year before.
I understand
And we
that,
have the
but
same
I don't
questions.
remember anybody coming to us this year and asking.
We
And
never
there's
got
two
their
new ones
contracts.
on this budget this year.
Because we didn't approve them. They will come to the board in January, February, March.
Right.
Well, if we approve it now,
We're not approving anything.
what are we approving?
Nothing. It's
Just
an
an
amount, you approve
allocation.
the budget, so there's money in a budget that should you choose to enter these contracts, you can fund them.
And the amount of money that we do give to these organizations can be amended at that time, after, in the 3 months, the first 3 months of the year. If you remember, in the first year that we were here, we did bring in each agency.
Yeah, I
We
remember.
did have a conversation with them. It's just that nobody asked to do that in the, last year. So if that's the will of the board to have people come in, that would be fine. But as Jonathan says, there is nothing there that specifically is giving money to anybody. It's putting money aside in the budget. So now you can address these contracts over the next 3 months because we have the 90 days. And if we choose to fund somebody, the money is there. If we choose not to, the money then would move into general fund at the end of the year. So this, and we already have a resolution that really covers most of what is attempting to be put into this resolution. So I don't know that we really want to do this unless it's severely amended because there are issues with it. So I'm not sure if we want to move forward with it, whether we want to table it and address it at another time and get it right. But in the meantime, we're not expending any dollars at this point. Alan?
With respect to the part I like about the resolution is the part of not accepting new budget requests for outside agencies. I think during the recession, a number of county departments have had to go through lean times, and we've had to make difficult decisions with respect to appointing staff members and/or providing funding for county roads and bridges. So I think, as we make it through the recovery, and if there are additional revenues, I would like those revenues to be directed to providing the basic services that our county staff members provide through our departments first and foremost. If we reach a point, where the county is, flush, where we can begin to fund some of these other agencies, perhaps it's an opportunity to revisit it, but under the current circumstances, I do not think it's a good idea to invite or to solicit, new agencies, because I know during the budget crisis, those were agencies that we ended up having to cut, and it was very difficult decision-making. And at the same time, we were forced to lay off people. So if I were to offer an amendment, I would take the therefore be it resolved, and just keep the very first part of that, that the Sullivan County Legislature hereby will not accept any new budget requests from new outside agencies, period. And then delete the rest of that sentence that talks about the 9/9.
So would this resolution, if it were to be passed with your amendment, prohibit spending money on any new group? How do you define outside agency?
That's a good question.
So
It's,
when we added the skate park one up, for example, that we supported, they would not be allowed to be funded because they'd be considered a new agency.
Correct, and that was a one-off deal. It wasn't like because they got funded in 12 years ago.
This would prohibit you from doing any one-off deals. What if the best project in the world came to you, you couldn't do it then?
That's what it does.
Include it.
Okay, we really need to call the vote on this.
Well, wait, didn't you want to amend?
I had thrown out an amendment.
I really just don't see any point in doing this resolution when we have a resolution that really does all of this already. We're not expending any money, we have the opportunity, we haven't accepted any new agency. So in the next 3 months, we'll be reviewing that. So I don't see any purpose to this resolution at this point in time. And if there's something that is missing from this, we can make it more
So are
specific
you
and
suggesting that
understandable.
it gets tabled? Is that your suggestion?
I think it's probably a good idea.
Because the prime piece to me is that we do not automatically fund as we have in the past. That's my first prime piece.
We haven't automatically funded anyone. You've had to pass their contract. You chose to do it. You voted yes to do it affirmatively. It didn't just roll automatically.
Well, perhaps I'm using the wrong terminology.
Well, again, that's why I
Okay.
think maybe we want to.
So tabling it might be the best solution
I'll move to
because.
table. I need a second.
Second.
No discussion on it. Second to table.
Second to
Okay.
table, okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who made the?
Me and Alan.
Kathy,
Alan and I.
Alan, second.
Thank you.
We'll table it for now, we'll review it and, spend a little time on it so that we're getting exactly what we're hoping to get, rather than winging it.
Well, I think because it keeps coming up every year, we have to, at some point.
No discussion on table.
Oh, yeah, it's been tabled, discuss this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, we did.
So was it said?
Yeah.
Oh, because I didn't see the hands or anything.
I didn't vote to table.
You did? Okay,
No, I
Huh?
voted no.
all in favor?
All in favor of tabling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 1, 2. Alan, how are you voting?
He voted to.
He seconded it.
Oh.
I second, yeah.
If you second the motion, you have to vote for it.
So we'll
No,
go
I
back,
did. I did.
we'll go back and review it and amend it, if there's a way to do it that makes sense.
I even said it.
Okay.
Number 13, there's that extra.
13 what?
No.
No,
We did it on the
we
agenda.
did it on the agenda before.
Number 21.
Okay, we are down to,
The long one?
Yeah.
the long one again.
34.
These are all resolutions that we are seeing for the very first time
Yes.
right now. They were
Omega.
introduced today or some point. Okay, so at this point, we have, if you look at the resolutions themselves, number 41 in the large packet, the last 4 pages.
Going backwards?
It's on the last, it's the last 4 pages. So you have resolution, and it's number 41 in that packet.
Why are you jumping to?
Why are you jumping? We're at
We're
34.
at 34. We didn't do 34
But
yet.
isn't that this one right here?
No. 34,
Yes.
or 34 and 35 are resolutions introduced by Cindy and Cora. You would like number 34?
Resolution introduced.
940, 41.
4. So what are these? They're not even.
Yes, we do.
It's on the back.
It's on the
Scott.
back,
Just
right
they
there.
turn
We're up to
it.
34.
Oh, I don't have that.
Oh,
Oh, that's okay.
all right, got it. That's why you're.
So how many are there?
Where is
Let's
this
start at
starting?
34.
There's 9.
34 through 43.
34.
Okay.
Resolution introduced by Cindy Geiger, District 5, or Legislature, District 6, to direct all amendments to county policies be highlighted prior to presentation to the legislature.
I'll make a motion because I'm a little confused. A motion.
Motion. Second,
For
Laura, discussion.
Okay, this was a request that I had. I'd like to review everything that I vote on. And so there's been occasions where policies have come to the legislature and changes were made, and we were asked to approve the policy as amended. But it's difficult to, especially if it's numerous pages, it's difficult to identify what changes were made. If there were additions to the policy, if there were deleted portions of the policy. So this is just something that I think will make it easier for all of us on the board. When a policy comes to us in committee and we're asked to approve and vote on it, we can more easily identify what the changes have been, and we can compare it to, the former policy. And so there's no errors or misunderstandings. So basically what it says is, whereas on numerous occasions, changes are made to county policies prior to requests for legislative approval, whereas if the changes were highlighted prior to request for approval, review of the changes could be more easily identified, leading to more accurate review, avoiding possible errors. Now therefore be it resolved that amendments to county policies be highlighted to accurately identify changes made to the document prior to request for legislative approval. So that's it, simple in a nutshell.
Give an example, because I have no idea what this means.
Chairman?
I'll give you a
If I
good
may,
example.
If you're dealing with an existing policy and you're making changes, no problem for us to simply, on the computer program Word, is a program called Track Changes, which you'll see
Yeah,
lines
there you go.
drawn through and lines drawn underlined. If you ask us to just use Track Changes on one copy of each resolution,
That would help.
you'll see the changes. Highlighting, I don't know if it may be confusing to some people. Track Changes is automatic on the computers, and give it to you that way.
That would help.
So, and I don't understand how can a policy be changed before it comes to us?
Pardon?
It
It's
wouldn't
very
be
confusing.
cha-
They're not allowed to change policies without board approval.
When they give us draft policies,
That's not what you
and
say
I,
here.
as a legislator, take them home to review the changes, it's very difficult for me, because I have to lay both documents side by
So
side.
this, you need to change your whereas,
Needs to be
because you're
reworded.
basically accusing the staff here of changing policies without your approval the way it's worded.
Okay, so
I
an
would speak in
amendment?
favor of this resolution
You're asking
in
the
the,
staff to use the program Track Changes when they submit proposed resolutions to you that would change policies. That way you can look at it and see what's being added, what's being deleted, what's being changed.
Yes, that's
Well,
what
then
I'm talking
Then I
about.
think that's the way you should have worded the resolution.
So what would you recommend as a amendment? that
I'd
word.
recommend it going through the normal process, so those things could get weeded out, and you could present a resolution that's properly worded that we all can support.
Can we make a motion to move us to table this?
No, I think we understand what this means, and Sam clarified it, so.
I need to see it in writing. We need
We have a
to
motion
clarify it.
to table, do we have a
It
second?
would be better if
Sam?
our wordsmithing services were utilized on these things before they're.
We
Make a
have
motion to
we have
table
a
the
motion
resolution,
to
Mr.
table.
Chairman.
Second. Jonathan, all in favor?
Motion fails.
Fails. So, how will this be amended?
Oh, I can make a motion to amend?
Yes.
Somebody has to.
Let me see the
Yeah.
proposed resolution.
So can you, we can
I'll
make a motion?
to amend.
Tomorrow.
Does somebody have a-
I'd like to recess this till tomorrow, Mr. Chairman. We recess and come back tomorrow. Anybody, I need a second?
what time
I have to
tomorrow
work
did you
tomorrow,
say
I
you were
can't-
gonna have
I just,
people back?
you know,
Let's
it's just, this is a lot to just, you know, we're gonna do this on every one
I
of
need
these,
to,
I just think.
I got this an hour
So
ago,
we-
I'm absorbing, after that I haven't even read yet, and as a legislator.
Let's just go through it and go through the questions, we can do it.
I wanna come back tomorrow.
I don't wanna come back tomorrow.
Then don't
I
come
think
back.
we can move ahead. So we'll.
Motion to recess. First, Jonathan, Kathy, all in favor? Opposed?
Can I just?
Fails. Amendment on this resolution?
It's the chair's prerogative, not the board.
Recess.
Then I would like to recess, because I am not in favor of 9 resolutions that I have not even been able to look at. So,
10 o'clock tomorrow morning?
10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
As a point of order, some of us have full-time jobs. I cannot be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Right, which is where the problem
How about 11?
comes from.
I have a full-time job. I can't be here until 3
Do
o'clock in
any of
the
these need to
afternoon.
be done this week?
Can we take this pack and do these and discuss these in January? You know, transparency, open government, folks,
This was a day for late files, so,
Okay, you know what, we have an issue actually that is much more important than this at this point in time. We have a presentation. Okay, we need to go into an executive session regarding
Go into an executive
probation.
session if you've recessed the meeting.
All right,
Parliamentarian?
okay.
We need a motion to reconvene to go into the executive session and continue to do business.
I didn't even have a notation that it was being recessed because there was too many,
Are we gonna
I
recess
didn't
it
even-
for tomorrow or not? And we may pick a time?
Well, I
Everybody think at noon?
9 resolutions that I have not had a chance to look at.
It's the 11th.
Also.
Okay.
All right, reconvene for the,
Say,
I'll motion to reconvene for the purpose of addressing.
okay, second,
Okay.
I would like to
Kathy?
have clarification. Are we recessing this board till tomorrow and going into, is that the plan?
We are going to, we're reconvening and we're going to go into executive session. For,
I
Probation.
don't know the letter, but it's contract negotiation.
that would be, I believe it's F.
So, are we gonna do any business after we reconvene or not?
No.
Okay, so, since we can't meet on Saturday, the budget, okay.
The budget passed.
the budget
What?
passed.
So can
The
we?
budget, you made your deadline.
Tomorrow, we're not gonna, give us a better answer now, wait till January?
Personally, I would like to wait till January to
Okay.
review these. That's
Alan, do you have a
my
problem with that,
personal
wait till
opinion.
January for these 9 that were handed out an hour ago?
I, like Jean, cannot be here tomorrow.
That's what, so we wait till, we wanna
She
wait
said
till
January.
January?
There's no, I don't believe
They're
that
not
there's
time
anything in
sensitive.
here that is that
Go to-
sensitive.
I can't be here tomorrow.
Ask every single.
Is
So
there
I would
something within
suggest
these
that
9
maybe we can have a
resolutions
special
that is
board meeting. Because, no, the reason.
special?
For what?
Because there's no
Okay,
time.
so let me try to work in the middle of these two systems. If we're putting this off, this packet, until January, then you are planning on putting it off until full board, which is at the end of January, where if we call a special meeting in the beginning of the January, everybody would have
These
chance
could
to
come
look
through,
at these.
these could come through, nobody tabled these resolutions.
These aren't time-
These resolutions can come through anywhere.
And they're not time sensitive at
And
all.
they-
And you're all
put
well
on
aware of that
an
'cause you've
agenda
done that
to
in the
be
past.
reviewed.
They're not, and they're not time sensitive at all.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
That's,
okay, so we have reconvened, I would like a motion to go into executive session for
wait,
F.
before we do that, can I ask a question? Anne Marie, I made a mistake setting the bond limit, that's my mistake. Could that be changed from 5 to 7, because that's where we're at right now? It's number 40.
Say that again?
We're not introducing them, you can change it.
She's
anyway.
telling me to change it, so when it comes through next month, that it's whatever committee.
But I think I'd like to clarify just one point of order here, which is that my understanding is that in December, there were no late filing of resolutions. So I didn't, my intention was not to ruffle feathers. If we've waited almost 3 years for some of these resolutions, so one more month is,
Right,
you
I
know.
think you're 100% right.
Well, I just want to be able to say that if the rules are that in December there's no late filing, you know, and somebody says, you know, if you want to play that game, that's not the game, that was not the intention. The intention was to be able to clean up stuff that we've been talking about for, you know, and start the new year with a clean slate, so to speak, because that is part of the rules.
Normally
I
for-
just want to be able to finish the sentence for 1 second. So I think that it's really important that we understand that it's coming from a place to have a certain amount of burden, if that's the right way of putting it, lifted from what is the day-to-day work of all the departments where these resolutions were put. And someone said to me, you know, you want to make sure this isn't adversarial. And I want to make sure that that's understood, that time I'm concerned that as we go forward, there's a huge change that's gonna take place in this county. And part of it has to do with, we know that anti-fracking, the governor did that. We know that there's a casino coming to Sullivan County. And a lot of this is in order to be able to be better prepared for the changes that will come. Because change will come and either we manage it or it manages us. So I just want to make sure that for anybody's feathers who are ruffled, the intention was to have a better process at the end of it. And I apologize if submitting no late filing resolutions upset people.
We accept that it was not done as a malicious thing.
I never use the word malicious.
It was not done to ruffle feathers.
Thank you.
So that is not the point. The point is that there are 9 resolutions at a very long day. There is nothing time sensitive. We can address all of these in January, and I think that's, except we do have an issue that we do have a motion and a second on the floor for 34. We do know that we either need to amend it or
Call the question.
call the question.
Well, I go with Alan's suggestion, right? You just.
Policies highlighted.
Just get it over.
That we review any new.
I think that I would just,
Review any new organizations.
That's not the one.
Excuse me.
Oh, where am I?
it's 34, right?
Our attorney has said that he's already written some changes, if this is on the floor
The
for.
highlights?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Highlight.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to the council if he has a suggestion. If not, I'll
Let me just preface it one way. Any legislator that wants to submit something, we're not gonna go running to other legislators with it. If you want our word service, our wordsmithing service, please come in, we'll help write it so that it's correct. So what it now should read, if you wanna do it so that it makes it easier for everybody. Now therefore be it resolved that all proposed resolutions being submitted to legislators for their consideration by staff should be submitted in track changes format, with track changes in quotes, if the proposed resolution changes any existing resolution.
But it's not just the resolution, Sam. She had the wording as policies, right?
Any policy had to be adopted by a resolution to start with.
So you're talking about both the resolution and the policy itself?
Every resolution was adopted by a policy.
The other way around.
I'll put, you're right, Gene. Every policy adopted by a resolution. I'll put policy and resolution.
Okay? So you motion on the amendment?
Hold on.
I just want to make sure that the first whereas is also amended, so that it would read on numerous.
Take
I would
all
just-
that out, you don't need it.
I'm not sure we need that at all, yeah.
I don't think you even need I don't even think you need a whereas in this one.
Therefore.
You don't.
For whomsoever.
There is nothing written from on high that you have to have a whereas.
Okay. So
Okay, it's a
the
novel.
amendment is,
That's the first time I've heard that.
Alan,
the
your
last
amendment
therefore.
is-
To delete the whereases.
The first whereas,
The
delete it.
first one.
Actually,
There are 2 whereases. We're deleting 2 whereases and we're just going to therefore be it resolved?
Yep.
No, I would suggest,
You want- you want to keep the second whereas?
Can we just
Keep
turn
the
this to the
second.
January one?
Okay.
We have to do something.
All right, I'll retract that. I'm gonna delete the first my motion is to delete the first whereas. We'll keep the second whereas, which is kind of content neutral.
And then
and
what
take-
Sam said for the.
and then what
now
Sam
therefore
suggested
be
on the now
resolved.
therefore
Okay,
be
need a
resolved.
second on that amendment.
Second?
Second on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? All in favor of the resolution as amended? Okay. Now I'd like to go into a motion to go into executive session.
Can I just make a statement? Because this is full board and it's just for a moment.
Please.
I want to congratulate all of us here in Sullivan County on the gaming decision of yesterday. It's a wonderful start to ignite the fire of enthusiasm to light our county's growth. We, the county government, have a great deal to keep aware of. We are the key in our stewardship and the growth of our county. All of the many people who were involved deserve congratulations. I see the enthusiasm all over this county today. I do not say this as a naysayer, I say this as a reminder. We, the county, need to help create a managed plan of growth. Alan months ago had suggested this in a slide presentation. I believe especially now that we need to plan our growth so as not to have this spark of growth turn into a fire that could harm. Controlled fires that help a forest grow, controlled growth without all overall planning is vital for this county's economic future. And thank you for changes that are going forward. And may
Okay,
they
thank
be
you.
planned.
Jonathan moved to go in executive session,
Okay.
seconded by Kathy.
Second. All in favor? Okay. And I just want to say to everybody, happy and healthy holidays, and I'm sorry that you had to sit through all of this. This is a long meeting because it's the end of the year, so, anyway.
Will there be a year-end meeting?
There will not be a year-end meeting.
Thank you. No.
So we're going into
We're
committee.
in the committee room, which is being set up.